it life a little bit difficult because I had to get out of Germany or I wouldn't be alive anymore. So my mother and father sent me to a private school in Switzerland.
Yes.
And we were safe there until Hitler took away the funding. Hitler took away the funding, the school closed,
Yes.
and so we lived as refugees in Switzerland.
Yes, I understand.
So my recent empathy has been going with the people that are emigrating, that are now immigrants,
Yes.
and I've been worried about them. But there's nothing one can do if one doesn't have the documents, the professional documents. So I went, and we didn't have any money in Switzerland. So my two older sisters were already in medical school, and that's where I had wanted to go, but we didn't have the money for me. So I went to public school, and that worked out very well for me. And from public school in Switzerland, you can also become a psychoanalyst.
Yes.
And I went to psychoanalytic training at the William Alanson White Institute. Well, that went way back because my mother actually had been analyzed by one of Freud's pupils in Germany. And so she was very psychoanalytically oriented. And I read some of the books as a very little girl, just to be intrigued by them. Didn't quite know what it meant, but it was fun and a little scary to read about it. And then when my sisters became physicians, I wanted to become a physician as well, because I knew that I could become a psychoanalyst. But that wasn't quite as easy as I thought it was, because we had no money. So I couldn't go to medical school. And I supported myself. And I started having a family. I got married. And today I have 4 children and 9 grandchildren.
Wow, very well.
And this country is too large because it's very hard to get to see everybody. So sometimes I don't know my grandchildren because I don't know who they are.
Yes.
But I've always been interested in finding out who people are.
Yes.
And so it's been a lifelong interest.
Yes.
To my mother, who was very adventuresome herself and became a writer in Switzerland,
Yes.
and wrote children's stories and adult, what we call potboilers. Potboilers was something that doesn't have much meaning,
Yes.
except there's romantic stories. And we all knew they weren't very great literature, but they helped us buy groceries and all the things that we needed to buy. So life was very interesting.
Yes.
And then after I graduated, I did a lot of traveling for the institute, the Psychoanalytic Institute. Well, I don't know if it was a main interest, but I was interested in psychoanalysis because of understanding what people were about and what my life was about and what my children's lives were about. So I worked pretty hard. Harry Stack Sullivan
Yes.
was very difficult to understand, but I tried.
Very well.
But once I had 4 children, I didn't have much time to read professionally.
Oh, very well.
My family came first.
Yes.
89. Trying to live longer. I believe in healthy living, good food,
Yes.
and staying alive. I do a lot of reading and I do a lot of walking. More later, that moves me. You know, I have to hold on to something. And I go outside. I live in a retirement community.
Yes.
And I can take my rollator that has 4 wheels to go outside by myself. Well, actually, I like things that are mystery stories or about different countries. I like it read that the location of the stories have been in the far north of Europe, in Norway and in Sweden and the northern part of Germany. That's where. And before that, my favorite reading were probably like Thomas Mann, but not no relative, just same last name.
Yes.
I like, especially if you're familiar with Thomas Mann, the Buddenbrooks. It's a whole story about a family.
Yes.
That always fascinated me. I think I was in Argentina once. That's where the big waterfall is. And I traveled all the way from the waterfall up to all the way north.
Yes.
To Europe.
Yes.
It was called Picture Safari.
What was the name?
A picture safari.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love to see animals.
Yes.
There were just 5 people of us that traveled with a company.
Yes.
And we outside or we slept in tents.
Yes.
And it was fascinating to see the animals. Well, I live in a very good community, which allows me a lot of freedom in terms of going outside.
Yes.
And I get my meals cooked. I don't have to cook, and I can have visitors. So it's a pretty good life. Not for everybody. If it can make you more patient with things that you cannot do anymore, then you can be quite satisfied with life. Well, it's accepting the limitations. I was born with club feet, and I had a lot of surgeries as a child. So limitations, because the surgery was very new at the time.
Yes.
And it kept me from the things I really wanted to do, which was to go to medical school and to live as freely as I could. So wisdom is to accept your limitations.
Yes.
Limitations, whether in living or limitations in work. And that's what got me into a retirement community, because my memory was no longer good enough to work with patients. And I began to forget details about their lives, and that doesn't do so well with the patient, especially since they expect to get better.
Yes.
And so, in essence, it's accepting the limits of not living my own life totally on my own. I don't see my children often enough. And this country here, the United States, is so big that travel becomes a problem. But I had to stop working with children because that got too complicated. That was 30 years ago. I could still sit on the floor. Well, I had 1 year that didn't feel very good. My first year in the retirement community, because I also was diagnosed with a lymphoma and was told I wouldn't live forever. I knew and they couldn't tell me. That made me angry. I figured they should be able to tell me. But then I realized they really didn't know themselves. So since then, I don't think much about it. I just live a day at a time. And I'm glad when the sun shines and I can go outside with my rollator and do a lot of walking. And I can see my children not often enough. They live too far away, but they come. Like my daughter is here from Oregon right now. Oregon is far north, south.
West.
It's west of here.
Yes.
And I've never even seen her new apartment, so I hope to get there still. In the retirement center, there are quite a few social activities, but the main, since I live close to the capital, close to New York City, most of the people here are either widows of diplomats or politicians.
Yes.
And they cannot talk about their lives either.
Yes, I understand.
They have to keep secrets, and that can annoy me sometimes. Well, not really, because they live too far.
Oh, okay.
This country is big. But today my oldest daughter is here. It is helping us out. And my other grandchildren come. We tried to get some holidays together. Yeah, they came all for my birthday this year.
Oh,
My birthday is January, yes. I was always told that I was born in the coldest month of that year. They were afraid to open the doors in the closets because the closets were too cold.
And,
I was from a middle-class family, so we were quite well off until Hitler made trouble with. My daughter is just looking what I have. That's one of the pot boilers.
wow.
Yeah. And my mother had a double name. Her maiden name was Loewe, Loewe, and her married name was Honroth, Honroth. The law in us has to do with Lisa, what is I'm blocking.
Oh,
That's a little impressive.
Yes.
I'm a fairly modest person, but I would like to be seen by many people. I don't mind that. I had my hair done yesterday so that I would look all right.
Very
I'm a
well.
little old too.
Wow.